Hey, James, your band sucks. You are a terrible singer. I can't stand your voice. Dude, will you please just stop making music? I'm begging you. These are literally some of the messages that I've gotten over the years. And believe me, there are many, many more. I can't tell you the number of times that I've woken up in the morning feeling amazing. And then I go to grab my phone and check Facebook or Instagram or YouTube. And sure enough, there it is. Some just nasty message. And it just goes to my core. It just makes my blood boil. And no matter how many times it happens, I would think I'd be used to it by now, but there's just that moment where it absolutely crushes me. And so over the years, I've really had to force myself to get better at handling this. And now I do have a slightly different viewpoint on haters. I've been told so many times that, dude, haters don't matter. Why do you pay attention to them? Just ignore them. But I think they actually do matter. At least that's what I've learned in my 30 plus years of being in the music business. And I'm going to explain that. So when my band 6am first broke onto the scene, we got a lot of haters. I mean, a lot of haters. Now, to be clear, we also got a ton of love, too. In fact, way more love than hate. But I guess it's just human nature to focus more on the negative than the positive. I don't know why that is, but it's true. And I was certainly guilty of that. So we had just released our first album, the Heroin Diaries soundtrack. And our first single, Life is Beautiful, was pretty much at the top of the charts. So we were getting a lot of attention. And at the time, MySpace was the big social media platform. I don't even think that Facebook was a thing yet, or if it was just getting started. So we all had MySpace pages. And let me tell you, it did not take long for the haters to find us on MySpace. And what I very quickly learned was that a lot of the hate was coming from a very, very small group of people that I don't even know where they were from or what they did or why they cared so much about letting us know that they thought we sucked. But I was really surprised at how angry and how triggered some of these people got. So every day we were basically getting pummeled on MySpace by really cruel messages about how terrible we were. And I got to admit, it really got to me. I started questioning whether I had made the right decision to move forward with this band. And it was crazy because we were having really great success. All signs were pointing to the fact that 6am was blowing up. So at first it was pretty shocking. And even though I understood where it was coming from, I just wanted to bury my head in the sand. Then it dawned on me. If we really sucked as bad as these haters were saying, we wouldn't be getting any attention. We would just be getting ignored. And that was definitely not happening. And that's when it occurred to me that maybe these haters are telling me something important. Maybe they're telling me something good. Like we were almost a threat. We were making them uncomfortable. And with that realization, I got filled with this newfound confidence. Like I was strangely empowered. And I thought, we must be doing something right here. So to me, that is the first reason that haters really do matter. they actually prove that you're making waves, that you're having an impact. Like, nobody's hating on someone who's invisible. What's that saying? You don't throw rocks at a parked car? Something like that. But in essence, you don't get pushback if you're not pushing somebody's buttons. And if you're doing that, you're moving the needle. And isn't that what we're trying to do? So now, when criticism comes my way, I think of it more as a signal that I'm being noticed, that I'm doing something impactful. And whatever that is, it might be uncomfortable to some people. Because if you're out there doing something bold or different, they've got two choices. They can either get inspired or they can get angry. And a lot of people choose to get angry. Now, I want to tell you a story about my dad. And this story really breaks my heart. But it also warms my heart, and I think it's really relevant here because it gets to the next reason that haters matter. So before he retired, my dad was an amazing artist. He was a painter, and he'd make these huge abstract paintings that were just beautiful. And he was actually quite successful. He had his art in galleries all around the world. And I have to tell you, it was really cool growing up as a kid, having an artist for a father. And there's no question that he is why I ended up being a musician and an artist myself. Anyway, he had been commissioned to create this very large painting for a corporation that wanted to display it in their headquarters. So it was a big deal and a great opportunity for my dad. And when he completed it, as he always did, he insisted on installing it himself because he always wanted to make sure that it was displayed properly and that it was getting the right light and that it was just going to live its best life as a painting. So he was at the headquarters and he had just finished hanging it and was kind of cleaning up his tools and just, tidying up. And a couple of executives came walking through the lobby. Now, they had no idea that my dad was the artist. I think they just assumed he was like a maintenance guy or someone who had been tasked with hanging the painting. And the two guys stopped in front of the painting and kind of stared at it, a little bit perplexed, I guess. And then one of the guys says to the other guy, "What is this horrible, ugly painting? It looks like somebody vomited on the canvas." And then they both laughed and, just kind of stood there like a couple of jerks. Well, my dad was standing right there and he heard every word. Now, every time I tell this story, it just kills me because if you knew my dad, he's just the kindest, most gentle, unassuming person you'll ever meet. And here were these two guys just kind of recklessly disparaging something that my dad had poured his heart and soul into. But there's a really beautiful part to this story. When he got home, he told my mom about what had happened. And of course, my mom was devastated and probably pretty furious. But she asked him, "Are you okay? How did that make you feel?" And he was like, "You know what? I'm okay. I didn't make that painting for them. I made it for me. And I made it for the next person that's going to walk into that room and stand there in awe of it. So I can't force someone to like what I do, but I can find the people that do like what I do." So obviously this wasn't his first time having to deal with haters like that. He had very thick skin because he probably had a lot of practice. And that is the second reason that haters matter. They think they're hurting you or damaging your reputation or maybe even swaying public opinion against you. But in reality, they're giving you an opportunity to get tougher. And we all need practice thickening our skin and getting a little bit tougher. Now, the third reason that haters matter is one that took me a long time to figure out. But it's had probably the most profound impact on me and my ability to deal with their hate. And that's this. Haters force you to articulate your message better. Because here's the thing. Haters aren't always wrong. You know, there's something that haters are actually quite good at, and that's finding the gaps or the weak points in your message. So even when it feels like they're being petty or unfair, sometimes that's what forces you to look at what you're doing and maybe reassess it a little bit. And that's always a good thing when you can take an opportunity to improve your work, improve your thought process, sharpen your thinking a little bit. You go back and ask yourself, did I explain this clearly? Or do I even believe what I just said? Or, you know, if it's a song, where could I have made this stronger? There have been so many times where, because of a comment that somebody has made to me, that I actually stopped and went back to the drawing board and actually did improve what I was working on. So there can be real value in that. You know, it's like the hater actually made me turn off autopilot and forced me to dig way deeper into what it was that I was doing and make it better. What I found was the more clear and grounded that I got, the less room there was for the haters to shake me. It's like they think they're poking holes, but what they're really doing is helping you patch up the weak spots. So whether you're a musician like me or, I don't know, whatever your job is, that can be a really important part of your career and your life. When you can look at yourself objectively and make improvements. The last thing I want to say about haters, and this is something that took me a long time to learn and probably even longer to believe, is that haters really reflect their own insecurities. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, sometimes the hate has nothing to do with you. It's about them. Your progress reminds them of everything they haven't accomplished. It's like your confidence just is a thorn in their side. It drives them crazy. And it must really rattle something that they've got buried deep down inside. And when people feel threatened, they lash out. So instead of taking it personally, sometimes you can just pause and go, oh, this isn't about me. This is about what I represent to them. And that gives you power. So yeah, haters matter. Not because they're right or wrong, but because they might actually reveal something about you, about your message or your art or whatever it is you're doing. They think that they're tearing you down, but in fact, they're pointing out that you've got an edge, that you've got the advantage. And listen, it might feel like they're turning people against you, but in reality, they're probably helping the right people find you. And maybe most importantly, they give you a chance to decide who you are without the applause. And that is real power. So if you've got haters, just smile a little, because you must be doing something right. You must be doing something that matters. Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed this, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. And if you have any thoughts, please share them in the comments. I read every single comment and I try to respond to every comment. Take care.